Imagine everything you've built, your family, your love, your $60 million empire shattered in a single night. What if the people you trusted most, the ones you'd give your life for, were secretly plotting to steal it all? Picture this: a warm Austin evening, a birthday party glowing with promise, and then bam, a discovery that rips your heart out. A cherry red Mercedes parked where it shouldn't be, voices dripping with betrayal, mocking you as a fool while scheming to take millions. The sting of their lies cuts deeper than any knife. And the truth? It's more shocking than you could ever imagine. Will you stand by as they laugh? Or fight to reclaim what's yours? Buckle up, this tale of greed, deception, and redemption will leave you speechless. Welcome to Revenge X, where electrifying stories of betrayal and triumph set your soul ablaze. We're thrilled to have you join our community of viewers who celebrate unyielding resilience and fierce courage. Hit that subscribe button to never miss a heart-pounding tale, and it'd be incredible if you smashed the like button, shared this video, or dropped a comment with the time and city or country you're watching from. Your likes, shares, and heartfelt comments are the greatest spiritual gift, the fuel that keeps this channel burning bright. Now, buckle up for a story that'll hit you right in the feels. Let's dive in. My name is Richard Bennett, a 55-year-old real estate mogul who built an empire from a single rundown apartment complex in Austin, Texas, to a sprawling portfolio worth $60 million. I've always believed in hard work, loyalty, and family values that carried me through decades of 16-hour days, sleepless nights, and handshake deals that turned dreams into reality. My wife, Evelyn, was my high school sweetheart, the woman who stood by me when I was just a scrappy kid with big ideas. Our daughter, Sophia, now 28, is the light of my life, a sharp-witted financial analyst with a heart as big as Texas. I thought I had it all: a loving family, a thriving business, a legacy to leave behind. But on the night of my son-in-law, Ethan's 30th birthday, everything I believed in shattered like glass under a sledgehammer. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, a lavish party at Ethan's sleek modern mansion in the hills of Westlake, a property I'd gifted him and Sophia as a wedding present 3 years ago. The night was warm, the Austin skyline glittering below, and I'd driven over to surprise Ethan with a bottle of 25-year-old Macallan Scotch, a $5,000 gesture to celebrate the man I thought was family. But as I pulled into the driveway, my stomach twisted at the sight of Evelyn's cherry-red Mercedes-Benz G-Class, parked crookedly by the gate like she'd rushed to get inside. She'd told me she was at a charity gala downtown, some glitzy event for the Austin Children's Hospital. Why was her car here? My pulse quickened, a gnawing premonition clawing at my chest. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. I parked my Range Rover a block away, my hands trembling as I killed the engine. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine from Ethan's manicured gardens, but it did nothing to calm the storm brewing inside me. I crept toward the house, my polished loafers silent on the cobblestone path, and positioned myself beneath the living room window, its curtains slightly ajar. The voices inside hit me like a freight train. Evelyn's sultry laugh, the one that used to make my heart race, now dripped with venom. When the old man finally signs those divorce papers, we'll be swimming in $60 million, she purred, her words slicing through me. Ethan's voice followed, smooth and calculating, like a snake oil salesman closing a deal. The prenup's airtight, but with Texas law, we'll bleed him dry $30 million in assets, plus alimony for life. He's too trusting to see it coming. My knees buckled. I gripped the brick wall to keep from collapsing, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd burst. 30 years of marriage, 3 decades of building a life together, reduced to a cold-blooded scheme. But it got worse. A third voice joined them, Lydia Harper, my longtime business partner's wife and Evelyn's supposed best friend. "I've been feeding you his financials for months," she said, her tone smug. "Every property deed, every offshore account, every stock portfolio. Richard thinks I'm loyal, but I'm done playing second fiddle to his empire." The betrayal wasn't just Evelyn and Ethan. It was a trio of vipers, each sinking their fangs deeper into my life. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers shaking as I hit record. Their words poured out like poison. "Richard's so busy with his deals, he doesn't even notice I've been skimming $500,000 from the joint accounts," Evelyn said, her voice gleeful. "And those late-night book club meetings? Just me and Ethan planning our new life in the Maldives." Ethan chuckled. "The man's blind. He thinks Sophia's the one pushing for family dinners, but it's me keeping her distracted while we move the pieces." Lydia's voice cut in, sharp and bitter. "Don't forget my cut. I've been stuck in David's shadow for years, pretending to care about Richard's boring real estate stories. I deserve millions for my patience." The ground seemed to shift beneath me. My wife, my son-in-law, my partner's wife, all conspiring to strip me of everything I'd built. The pain was visceral, like a knife twisting in my gut. I'd spent 30 years waking up at 4 in the morning to secure contracts, sacrificing weekends to close deals, all to give Evelyn the life she wanted: designer handbags, a mansion in Terrytown, vacations in Aspen. And Sophia, my brilliant, kind-hearted daughter, was being used as a pawn in their game. The betrayal burned, a wildfire of rage and heartbreak, consuming every memory I held dear. How could I have been so blind? How could the woman I loved, the mother of my child, orchestrate this? But then, a second shock hit. Through the window, I glimpsed a fourth figure: Mark Sullivan, my loyal accountant of 15 years, the man I trusted with every penny of my fortune. He was supposed to be in Dallas for a conference, but there he was, pacing nervously with a stack of folders. "I've got the dummy accounts ready," he said, his voice low but clear. $10 million rerouted to offshore shells. Richard won't notice until it's too late. My blood ran cold. Mark, the man who'd helped me navigate tax laws, who'd toasted my success at every milestone, was part of this? The layers of deceit piled on, each revelation a fresh wound. I'd trusted him with my life's work, and he'd sold me out for a cut of the spoils. A twig snapped under my foot, and the room went silent. "What was that?" Evelyn hissed, her voice sharp with paranoia. "Probably just a raccoon," Ethan said, but his tone was tense. "You're jumping at shadows, Evelyn. Richard's too busy to suspect anything." My heart raced as I pressed myself against the wall, sweat beading on my forehead despite the cool night air. They were wrong. I wasn't too busy. I was right here, hearing every treacherous word, my phone capturing their conspiracy in crystal clear audio. But the weight of their betrayal crushed me. I'd built my life on trust, on the belief that family and loyalty were unshakable. Now, I was staring into the abyss of their greed, and it was tearing me apart. My mind churned with conflicting emotions: rage at their audacity, grief for the love I thought I had, and a growing resolve to fight back. I wanted to storm in, confront them, scream until my lungs gave out. But something colder, sharper took hold. I wasn't just a heartbroken husband. I was Richard Bennett, a man who'd outsmarted competitors, navigated recessions, and built an empire from nothing. They thought they could destroy me, but they'd underestimated the fire in my soul. As I crept back to my car, the weight of 30 years of love and sacrifice pressed down on me, but so did a new purpose. They wanted a war? I'd give them one they'd never forget. The party lights twinkled behind me, mocking the darkness in my heart, but I drove away with one truth burning bright. This was only the beginning. I sat in my Range Rover, the engine off, the Austin night pressing in like a suffocating blanket. The recording on my phone burned a hole in my pocket: 43 minutes of raw betrayal, Evelyn's venomous laugh, Ethan's smug calculations, Lydia's greedy scheming, and Mark's quiet treachery. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as the weight of their words sank deeper. 30 years of marriage, a daughter I'd raised with every ounce of my heart, a business built on sweat and sacrifice, all reduced to a plot to strip me of $60 million. But the knife twisted harder when I realized this wasn't just about money. It was personal. They'd mocked me, called me a fool, a clueless old man who'd handed them the keys to his kingdom. The rage boiled, but beneath it, a raw, aching grief clawed at my chest. How had I missed this? How had I let these snakes slither so close? I forced myself to breathe, to think. I wasn't just Richard Bennett, the guy who'd loved too blindly. I was the man who'd turned a single apartment complex into a real estate empire, outsmarting developers and bureaucrats across Texas. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them I could play dirtier. But first, I needed to know how deep this went. I pulled out my phone and called Tommy Ruiz, my head contractor and one of the few people I still trusted. Tommy was a straight shooter, a 50-year-old Texan who'd worked my sites for 2 decades, always showing up with a thermos of black coffee and a handshake you could trust. "Tommy," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the storm inside, "I need you to dig into something for me. Quietly, can you get me eyes on Ethan's financials? Anything off about his law firm or personal accounts?" Tommy's voice crackled through the line, gruff but warm. "Boss, you sound like hell. What's going on?" I hesitated, the urge to spill everything warring with the need to stay sharp. "Just trust me, Tommy. Something's rotten, and I need to know how bad." He didn't push, just promised to get his cousin, a private investigator named Carla, on it by morning. Hanging up, I felt a flicker of relief. Tommy was my rock, a man who'd never sell out for a quick buck. But that relief was short-lived. A text buzzed through. It was from Jake Carver, a slick real estate lawyer I'd crossed paths with at industry galas, The kind of guy who wore $1,000 suits and a grin that never reached his eyes. Heard you're in deep, Richard. Word's out, Evelyn's been cozying up with Ethan for months. Call me if you need a shark. My stomach lurched. Jake was no friend. He was a vulture, circling for scraps of my empire. How the hell did he know about Evelyn and Ethan? The betrayal wasn't just a family affair. It was leaking into Austin's high society, where gossip spread faster than wildfire. I ignored the text, but the implication hit hard. Someone else was talking, someone with their own agenda. I drove to a dive bar on 6th Street, the kind of place where neon signs buzzed and the jukebox played Johnny Cash. I needed a drink, a moment to process. The bar stool creaked under me as I ordered a bourbon, neat, and let the chaos in my head unfold. Evelyn's voice echoed in my mind. The old man's too busy to notice. Ethan's sneer. He's a chump, handing us $60 million on a silver platter. Lydia's bitter jab. I'm done playing second fiddle. And Mark, my so-called loyal accountant, rerouting $10 million to offshore accounts. Each word was a fresh cut, slicing through the life I'd built. I'd given Evelyn everything, diamond necklaces, a penthouse suite for our anniversaries, a life most women would kill for. And Ethan? I treated him like a son, paid for his law school loans, handed him a mansion. The ingratitude stung worse than the greed. As the bourbon burned my throat, a new shock hit. A familiar laugh cut through the bar's din. Lydia Harper, sitting in a corner booth with a man I didn't recognize, some slick-haired guy in a leather jacket who looked like he belonged in a biker gang, not a Westlake cocktail party. She was drunk, her voice loud enough to carry. Richard's such a pathetic sap, she slurred, leaning into the guy. Thinks he's king of Austin, but we've been milking him for millions. Ethan's got the legal angle, Evelyn's playing the devoted wife, and I'm the one feeding them the numbers. Hell, even Mark's in on it, 10 million already stashed away. The guy laughed, a guttural sound that made my skin crawl. You're a cold one, Lydia. What's my cut for keeping quiet? She smirked, tossing back her drink. Keep your mouth shut, Vince, and you'll get $1 million when we cash out. Vince. Another player in their game. Another layer of betrayal. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone again, recording their conversation from across the bar. Lydia's betrayal wasn't just about money. She was reveling in my humiliation, laughing at my trust like it was a cheap punchline. The pain was suffocating, a mix of rage and despair that made me want to storm over and flip their table. But I stayed put, my businessman's brain kicking in. Every word they spoke was another nail in their coffin, and I wasn't about to let emotion ruin my strategy. Then came the third blow of the night. My phone lit up with an email from Sophia, sent from her work account at a downtown investment firm. Dad, we need to talk. I overheard Ethan on the phone tonight, saying something about finalizing the divorce strategy with Mom. I thought they were joking, but it didn't sound right. Call me. My heart stopped. Sophia, my daughter, the one person I thought was untouched by this mess, was now caught in the crossfire. Ethan was using her too, keeping her busy with family dinners while he plotted with Evelyn. The realization hit like a sucker punch. My little girl wasn't just a bystander, she was a pawn in their twisted chess game. I downed the rest of my bourbon, the burn doing nothing to dull the ache. My mind raced, torn between the instinct to protect Sophia and the urge to confront Evelyn and Ethan right then and there. The bar's smoky haze mirrored the fog in my head. How had I let this happen? I'd spent 30 years building a legacy for my family, only to find them tearing it apart. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It was a gutting of my identity, my belief in love and loyalty. I pictured Evelyn's smile at our last anniversary, her hand on mine as she toasted to forever, all a lie. And Ethan, the kid I'd mentored, calling me a chump behind my back. Lydia, who I'd trusted with boardroom secrets, selling me out for a cut. Mark, my numbers guy, stealing $10 million while shaking my hand. And now Vince, some lowlife profiting off my pain. But amidst the chaos, a spark of resolve ignited. I wasn't their fool. I was Richard Bennett, the man who'd outmaneuvered every rival in Austin's cutthroat real estate game. I slipped my phone into my pocket, the recordings now my ammunition. Tommy's loyalty, Carla's investigation, and Sophia's suspicions were my lifelines. The bar's jukebox switched to a gritty Willie Nelson track, and I felt a grim smile tug at my lips. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, and their thug, Vince, thought they'd outsmarted me. They were about to learn what happens when you cross a man who's got nothing left to lose but everything to fight for. I paid my tab and stepped into the night, ready to turn their game into my war. The neon glow of 6th Street faded in my rearview mirror as I drove back to my Tarrytown mansion, the weight of the night's revelations crushing my chest like a collapsing scaffold. The recordings on my phone, Evelyn's venom, Ethan's smug calculations, Lydia's betrayal, Mark's treachery, and Vince's low-life scheming played in my mind like a horror movie on loop. My heart thundered, torn between the urge to scream and the need to stay sharp. I'd built a $60 million empire with my bare hands, but now it felt like a house of cards, every brick laid with love for a family that was tearing me apart. The Austin skyline mocked me, its glittering lights a reminder of the legacy I thought I'd secured for Sophia, now just a prize for vipers to plunder. I pulled into my driveway, the mansion's limestone facade glowing under the moonlight, a monument to 30 years of grind, now tainted by Evelyn's lies. Inside, the silence was deafening, broken only by the faint hum of the AC. I poured another bourbon, the amber liquid trembling in the glass as my hands shook. The living room, with its custom oak shelves and framed photos of Sophia's graduation, our Alaskan cruise, and Evelyn's radiant smile at our 25th anniversary, felt like a museum of my own stupidity. How had I missed the signs? The late-night book club excuses, the sudden interest in my financials, the way Ethan always steered conversations to my business deals. The betrayal wasn't just a knife in my back, it was a chainsaw, shredding every belief I'd held about love, trust, and family. As I sank into my leather armchair, a new wave of pain hit. I remembered the day I'd walked Evelyn down the aisle, her eyes sparkling with what I thought was forever. Now her voice echoed from the recording. The old man's a clueless chump, handing us $60 million like a damn fool. Ethan's sneer followed. Dumbass thinks he's untouchable, but we're gonna bleed him dry. Lydia's cackle. Screw that loser, I'm cashing out. And Mark, the man I'd trusted with my fortune, 10 million's already gone. Richard's too busy to notice. Their words were a street brawl, each one a cheap shot to my soul. But the real gut punch was Vince, that leather-jacketed thug, laughing about his $1 million cut for keeping their dirty secret. 5 people, 5 knives, each one sharper than the last. Then came the first shock of the night. My phone buzzed with a voicemail from Carla, Tommy's private investigator cousin, her voice low and urgent. Richard, I dug into Ethan's law firm like you asked. Found something nasty. He's been funneling client trust funds hundreds of thousands of dollars into a shell company tied to Evelyn. But it gets worse. There's a paper trail leading to your sister-in-law, Claire. She's been signing off on fake invoices for consulting fees. I'm sending you the docs now. My breath caught. Claire, Evelyn's older sister, the one who'd always been standoffish, but family. She'd hosted Thanksgiving at her Lakeway ranch, poured me wine, called me brother. Now she was in on this, skimming my fortune with forged documents. The betrayal multiplied, a hydra sprouting new heads every time I thought I'd seen the worst. I opened Carla's email, my eyes scanning bank statements and invoices. Claire's name was everywhere, her signature scrawled on payments for services that never happened, $300,000 siphoned over 6 months. My mind reeled. Claire, who'd cried at Sophia's wedding, who'd hugged me when I funded her son's college tuition. The memory of her gratitude now felt like acid on my skin. I wanted to call her, to scream, "How could you?" But my businessman's instinct kicked in, whispering to hold my cards close. Every document, every recording, was a weapon. And I wasn't about to fire blindly. The second shock hit like a thunderbolt. A knock at the door startled me, the bourbon nearly slipping from my hand. It was Tommy, his weathered face grim under the porch light. "Richard, we got a problem," he said, stepping inside with a manila folder. I didn't wait for Carla's full report. Found this in Ethan's office trash when I was dropping off blueprints. He handed me a crumpled memo, stamped with the logo of my biggest competitor, Lone Star Properties. It outlined a deal to sell my flagship downtown high-rise valued at $20 million to a shell corporation for pennies on the dollar. Ethan's initials were scrawled at the bottom, alongside a note. Richard's too busy playing family man to notice. We'll flip it for millions. My blood boiled. Not only were they stealing my money, they were selling my legacy out from under me, mocking me as a distracted fool. The third shock was the cruelest. As Tommy explained the memo, my phone lit up with a text from Sophia. "Dad, I just found a hidden folder on Ethan's laptop. It's got your bank records, property deeds, even your will. There's an email from Mom saying, 'Make sure Richard doesn't suspect until we're ready.' I'm scared. What's happening?" My heart shattered. Sophia, my brilliant, trusting daughter, was unraveling the same web of lies, her world crumbling as she realized her husband and mother were monsters. The thought of her pain, her confusion, was a fresh wound. I'd shielded her from my business battles, wanting her to grow up with love, not suspicion. Now, She was caught in their crosshairs, her marriage a casualty of their greed. My mind was a battlefield, rage clashing with grief, resolve wrestling with despair. I wanted to storm Ethan's mansion, drag him out by his designer tie, and make him beg for mercy. I pictured Evelyn's face, that fake smile she'd worn for years, and wanted to shatter it with the truth. But the deeper pain was the loss of who I thought they were. My wife, my son-in-law, my sister-in-law, my accountant, my partner's wife. They'd turned my life into a lie, laughing as they planned to leave me with nothing. The bourbon tasted bitter now, each sip a reminder of the trust I'd poured into them, only to be spat on like some street punk. Yet, in the chaos, a new ally emerged. Tommy sat across from me, his calloused hands steady as he laid out the memo. "Richard, I've got your back," he said, his voice low but fierce. "These snakes think they can screw you over, but they don't know who they're messing with. You built this city, man. Let's bury them." His loyalty was a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge. But the fight wasn't just about me anymore. Sophia's text burned in my mind, her fear a call to action. I wasn't just fighting for my $60 million. I was fighting for her, for the truth, for the man I'd always been. I stood, the folder in one hand, my phone in the other, the recordings and documents my arsenal. The Austin night stretched out before me, dark and unforgiving, but I was done being the fool. They'd started this war, but I'd finish it, and they'd regret ever crossing Richard Bennett. The Terrytown mansion felt like a tomb as I stood in the dim glow of my office, Tommy's folder of damning evidence on my desk, the weight of Sophia's terrified text searing my soul. The recordings: Evelyn's venom, Ethan's sneers, Lydia's greed, Mark's betrayal, Vince's thuggish laughter, and now Claire's forged invoices were a symphony of deceit, each note a fresh stab to my heart. $60 million, my life's work, was being carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey, and I was the fool they thought they'd plucked clean. My chest ached with a grief so raw it felt like my ribs were cracking, but beneath it, a cold fury was building, a wildfire ready to burn their world to ash. I'd built this empire for my family, for Sophia, for a legacy I thought we shared. Now, it was a battlefield, and I was done playing the victim. I paced the hardwood floor, the creak of each step echoing the chaos in my mind. Every memory of Evelyn, her laughter at our first date in a greasy Austin diner, her tears when Sophia took her first steps, felt like a lie, a performance scripted to keep me blind. "That dumbass thinks he's king of Texas," Ethan had sneered in the recording, his voice dripping with street punk arrogance. "We'll strip him to nothing, leave him crying in his fancy mansion." Lydia's cackle had followed. "Screw that old bastard. He's too busy counting his millions to see us coming." Claire's betrayal cut deepest, her quiet voice in Carla's report. "Richard's too soft to suspect family." Soft. The words stung like a slap. I'd poured my heart into this family, and they'd turned it into a weapon. The first shock of the night hit like a lightning bolt. My phone buzzed with a call from Vanessa Carter, my longtime office manager, and one of the few people I trusted implicitly. Her voice was tight, urgent. "Richard, I just got a tip from a friend at the county clerk's office. Ethan filed a backdated lien on your Lake Travis condo worth $5 million, claiming it as collateral for a fake loan. It's tied to a shell company run by some guy named Vince Russo. And there's more. Your name's on a forged partnership agreement with Lone Star Properties, giving them control of your downtown portfolio if you default. I've got copies." My blood ran cold. Vince, the leather-jacketed thug from the bar, wasn't just a side player, he was neck-deep in their scheme, forging documents to steal my properties. The audacity was staggering, a middle finger to everything I'd built. I clutched the phone, my mind spiraling. The Lake Travis condo was where Sophia had spent her summers, where we'd grilled burgers and watched sunsets over the water. Now, it was a pawn in their game, another piece of my legacy they thought they could snatch. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was a desecration of my daughter's memories, a calculated gut punch to the life I'd given her. I wanted to scream, to drive to Ethan's mansion and smash his smug face into his mahogany desk. But the businessman in me, the one who'd outsmarted rivals for 3 decades, whispered to stay calm, to use their arrogance against them. Then came the second shock, a sucker punch that nearly knocked me off my feet. Vanessa's voice dropped lower. "Richard, there's something else. I found an email chain on the office server. Someone hacked your personal account. It's from Evelyn to a woman named Tara Grayson, some high society event planner. She's been feeding Evelyn dirt on your business deals, posing as my assistant to get access to your schedules and contracts. They've been planning a smear campaign, Richard, spreading rumors you're laundering money through your properties. Tara's been cozying up to the Austin Chronicle, planting stories to tank your reputation. Tara Grayson. The name hit like a brick. She'd been at every charity gala, flashing her megawatt smile, always asking about my next big project. I'd thought she was just ambitious, maybe a little flirty. Now, I saw her for what she was. Another snake in the grass, ready to slander me for a cut of the $60 million pie. The third shock was the cruelest. As Vanessa hung up, promising to send the email chain, my phone lit up with a notification from my security system. A live feed from the mansion's cameras showed Evelyn sneaking into my home office, her silhouette slipping through the side door. She thought I was still at the bar, drowning my sorrows. My heart pounded as I watched her rifle through my desk, pulling out folders, my tax returns, property deeds, the very documents she'd bragged about copying. But then, she did something that stopped my breath. She planted a USB drive in my drawer, her movements quick and deliberate. A setup. I didn't need to guess what was on it. Fake financial records, maybe forged emails, something to frame me as the criminal she and Tara were painting me to be. The betrayal was a living thing, wrapping around my throat, squeezing until I could barely breathe. Evelyn wasn't just stealing my money. She was trying to destroy my name, my freedom, my everything. My mind was a war zone, grief and rage battling for control. I pictured Sophia's face, her text about Ethan's laptop burning in my memory. She was unraveling this nightmare alongside me, her trust in her mother and husband shattered. The thought of her pain was a fresh wound, a reminder that this wasn't just my fight, it was hers, too. I wanted to protect her, to shield her from the ugliness of her mother's greed. But the truth was a wildfire, and it was spreading. I saw Evelyn's smile in my mind, the one she'd flashed at our last Christmas, when she'd kissed my cheek and called me her rock. A lie. Ethan's voice echoed. That loser's too busy playing daddy to notice we're screwing him over. Tara's emails, Claire's invoices, Vince's forged liens, they were all laughing at me, mocking the man who'd given them everything. But in the chaos, a new spark ignited. Vanessa's loyalty, Tommy's grit, and Sophia's courage were my anchors. I switched to the security feed on my laptop, saving the footage of Evelyn planting the USB drive. Every move they made was another mistake, another piece of evidence for the war I was building. I called Tommy back, my voice steady, despite the storm inside. Get Carla to track Tara Grayson. I want everything, her contacts, her bank accounts, her connection to Evelyn, and tell her to dig deeper on Vince Russo. He's not just a hired thug. Tommy's response was pure Texas steel. They're gonna regret messing with you, boss. We'll bury these bastards. His words were a lifeline, pulling me from the abyss. I leaned back in my chair, the bourbon untouched now. The office smelled of leather and old contracts, a reminder of the empire I'd built. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, they thought they could break me, but they didn't know the fire they'd lit. My heart ached for the family I'd lost, but it burned hotter for the fight ahead. I wasn't just Richard Bennett, the betrayed husband. I was the man who'd built Austin's skyline, and I'd be damned if I let these street rat conspirators take it from me. The night was dark, but my resolve was darker. This wasn't just a battle, it was a reckoning, and I was ready to make them pay. The dawn broke over Austin, painting the sky in hues of betrayal as I sat in my office. The security footage of Evelyn planting that USB drive looping on my laptop. The weight of $60 million in stolen dreams, pressed against my chest. Each revelation, Ethan's forged liens, Lydia's greed, Mark's treachery, Claire's fake invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, and Tara's smear campaign, another hammer blow to the life I'd built. My heart was a war zone, grief and rage colliding like a Texas thunderstorm. But I wasn't the broken man they expected. I was Richard Bennett, the guy who'd turned dirt lots into skyscrapers, and I'd be damned if I let these backstabbing vipers tear me down. Their voices haunted me, Ethan's street-sharp sneer, that washed-up fool's too busy kissing up to his daughter to see us robbing him blind, Lydia's venomous jab, screw that pathetic has been, we're cashing out his whole damn empire, and Tara's icy calculation, Richard's reputation's gonna crash harder than a dive bar drunk. Every word was a fresh wound, but I was forging them into weapons. My phone buzzed, pulling me from the spiral. It was Carla, her voice clipped with urgency. Richard, I've got something big. Tara's been meeting with a crooked city councilman, Derek Holt. He's pushing a rezoning deal to tank your East Austin development worth $15 million by labeling it a public hazard. Emails show Evelyn's been bankrolling his campaign with $20,000 siphoned from your accounts. But here's the kicker. Holtz got a side deal with Vince Russo to flip the land to a rival developer for a $10 million profit. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. Derek Holt, a slick-talking politician I'd hosted at my charity golf tournaments, was now orchestrating a land grab with my wife's money? The betrayal was a gut punch, another layer in their scheme to dismantle my legacy. I'd shaken his hand, poured him whiskey, and now he was spitting in my face. The first shock of the morning hit like a freight train. Carla's next words were a bombshell. "There's more, Richard. I traced the shell company Ethan's using for the Lake Travis condo lien. It's linked to your old college buddy, Greg Waller. He's been posing as a silent partner in your deals, funneling information to Ethan for a $5 million cut. He's got access to your cloud server, every contract, every valuation, everything." Greg Waller, my roommate from UT Austin, the guy who'd stood up at my wedding, who'd crashed on my couch when his startup tanked. I'd bailed him out with a $100,000 loan last year, no questions asked. Now, he was selling my secrets for a slice of my fortune? The pain was visceral, a knife twisting in my gut. I'd trusted him like a brother, shared my fears and dreams over late-night beers, and he'd turned it all into ammunition. My mind flashed to his grin at our last poker game, his casual questions about my expansion plans. All a setup. I gripped the desk, my knuckles white, as the second shock landed. A text from Sophia flashed on my phone. "Dad, I found a burner phone in Ethan's car. It's got text to Mom and someone named Derek Holt, planning to frame you for tax evasion. They're saying you've been hiding millions offshore. I'm freaking out, what do I do?" My heart shattered. Sophia, my brilliant girl, was neck-deep in this nightmare, uncovering her husband's and mother's plot to paint me as a criminal. The thought of her trembling hands, her trust in her family crumbling, was a fresh agony. I'd spent decades shielding her from the ugly side of business, wanting her to believe in love and loyalty. Now, she was collateral damage in their war against me, her world fracturing as she realized the people she loved were monsters. I wanted to race to her, wrap her in my arms, but I knew she needed the truth more than my comfort. The third shock was a sledgehammer. Tommy burst through the door, his face flushed with anger, clutching a USB drive of his own. "Richard, you're not going to believe this shit. I got this from a whistleblower at Lone Star Properties. Your CFO, Monica Reed, has been leaking your expansion plans to Ethan and Derek Holt. She's been forging your signature on transfer orders, moving $2 million into a slush fund for their rezoning scam. She's calling you a clueless old bastard who deserves to lose everything. Monica, my CFO of 10 years, the woman who'd cried when I gave her a bonus for her daughter's wedding. She'd sat across from me at board meetings, nodding as I outlined my vision for Austin's future, all while selling me out. The betrayal was a chokehold, squeezing the air from my lungs. I'd trusted her with my company's heart, and she'd handed it to my enemies with a smirk. My mind was a maelstrom, rage and despair battling for dominance. I pictured Evelyn's fake tears at our last anniversary, Ethan's cocky grin as he toasted family, Greg's backslapping laughter, Monica's earnest reports, all lies, all performances. Their voices echoed, "That idiot's too busy playing hero to see us gutting his empire." Monica had sneered in the whistleblower's files. "Screw that loser, he's done," Derek Holt had texted, his words dripping with contempt. The pain was unbearable, a raw wound that throbbed with every memory of trust I'd given them. I'd built my life on loyalty, on the belief that family and friends were my foundation. Now, that foundation was quicksand, pulling me under with every new betrayal. I wanted to scream, to burn the mansion down and let their greed choke on the ashes. But Sophia's text anchored me. Her fear, her need for truth, was a call I couldn't ignore. In the chaos, Tommy's loyalty shone like a beacon. He slammed the USB drive on the desk, his eyes blazing. "These bastards think they can play you like a punk, Richard, but we're gonna shove their lies down their throats. I've got your back, man. Let's take them down." His words were a lifeline, pulling me from the abyss. I nodded, my voice hoarse. "Get Carla on Monica's trail. I want every email, every transaction, and tell her to dig into Greg Waller's accounts, find out how deep he's in." Tommy's grin was pure Texas grit. "They're gonna wish they never crossed you, boss." I stood, the weight of $60 million and 30 years of love pressing down, but a new fire burned inside. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, they thought they could break me, humiliate me, frame me as a criminal. But I was Richard Bennett, the man who'd built Austin's skyline from nothing. My heart ached for the family I'd lost, for Sophia's pain, but it burned hotter for the fight ahead. I clutched the USB drives, the recordings, Sophia's texts, my arsenal was growing. The Austin sunrise blazed outside, a promise of reckoning. They'd started this war, but I'd finish it, and they'd learn what happens when you betray a man with nothing left to lose. The morning sun burned through the blinds of my Terrytown office, casting stark shadows across the desk, littered with evidence of a $60 million betrayal. Tommy's USB drive, Carla's financial reports, Sophia's desperate texts, and the security footage of Evelyn planting that damning. The morning sun burned through the blinds of my Terrytown office, casting stark shadows across the desk, littered with evidence of a $60 million betrayal. Tommy's USB drive, Carla's financial reports, Sophia's desperate texts, and the security footage of Evelyn planting that damning USB drive were my war chest. Each piece a bullet in the chamber. My heart was a furnace, fueled by the ashes of 30 years of trust. Evelyn's lies, Ethan's schemes, Lydia's greed, Mark's treachery, Claire's forged invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, Tara's smears, Derek's political backstabbing, Greg's betrayal, and Monica's corporate sabotage. Their voices echoed in my skull, a chorus of street-sharp venom. Ethan's snarl, that washed, up prick's too busy playing daddy to see us gut his empire. Tara's icy jab, screw that old fool, his reputation's gonna burn. Monica's sneer, Richard's a clueless bastard, deserves to lose it all. Each word was a lash, stripping away the man I thought I was: a husband, a father, a titan of Austin's skyline. But I wasn't done yet. I was Richard Bennett, and I'd built this city from dirt. They'd learn what happens when you cross a man with nothing left but fire. Are you enjoying the story so far? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just drop a quick comment below to share how you feel. It only takes a few seconds, but your words give me the motivation and inspiration to make every chapter more thrilling and engaging. Go ahead, let me know what's on your mind. And now, let's dive back into the story. I sipped black coffee, the bitterness mirroring my mood, as I plotted my next move. Sophia's text about Ethan's burner phone and the tax evasion frame-up haunted me. My daughter was unraveling this nightmare. Her trust in her mother and husband shattered like glass under a boot. The grief was a physical ache, a weight that made every breath a struggle. I'd given her a life of love, of safety, only to see her caught in this viper's nest. But the businessman in me, the one who'd outmaneuvered rivals for decades, was waking up. I needed to protect her, protect my empire, and bury these traitors before they buried me. The first shock of the day hit like a wrecking ball. My phone buzzed with a call from Vanessa, her voice shaking with fury. Richard, I just got a tip from a contact at the IRS. Someone, likely Ethan, tipped them off about irregularities in your tax filings, claiming you've been hiding $20 million in offshore accounts. They're launching an audit next week. But here's the twist. The tip came from an email address tied to your old lawyer, Paul Brennan. He's been working with Derek Holt to push the narrative that you're a tax cheat. Paul Brennan, my attorney for 15 years. The guy who'd drafted every contract for my downtown projects, who'd toasted my success at my 50th birthday. He'd sat in this very office, promising to protect my interests, while feeding my enemies the keys to my destruction. The betrayal was a gut shot, another layer of deceit in a plot that kept growing darker. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms, as the second shock landed. Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper. There's more. I hacked into Tara's private server, don't ask how. She's been coordinating with a blogger, Nikki Vega, who runs a local gossip site, Austin Uncovered. They're planning a hit piece, accusing you of bribing city officials for permits, using a fake paper trail they planted in your company's financials. Evelyn's been feeding Nikki doctored emails, claiming you paid Derek Holt $100,000 for zoning favors. Nikki Vega, a 20-something influencer I'd met at a charity auction, all smiles and selfies, now weaponizing her platform to torch my name. I'd complimented her hustle, even donated to her startup fund. Now, she was another pawn in their game, ready to paint me as Austin's villain for a shot at fame and a cut of the millions. The third shock was a knife to the heart. As I processed Vanessa's bombshell, my office door swung open, and Sophia stood there, her face pale, eyes red from crying. She clutched a stack of papers, her hands trembling. Dad, I went through Ethan's office after finding the burner phone. He's been meeting with a private investigator, some sleaze named Ronnie Tate, to dig up dirt on you. They've got photos of you at business dinners, twisted to look like you're meeting with mob types. And Mom, she's been paying Ronnie $50,000 to tail you, claiming you're cheating to justify their divorce narrative. Her voice broke, and she sank into a chair, the papers spilling across the floor. My daughter, my fierce, brilliant girl, was breaking under the weight of her mother's betrayal. The sight of her pain was worse than any financial loss, a raw wound that bled with every sob. I wanted to hold her, to promise it would be okay, but the truth was a beast we both had to face. My mind was a storm, rage and sorrow, clashing like cymbals. I saw Evelyn's face in my memory, her hand on mine during Sophia's college graduation. Her whispered, "I'm so proud of you." All a lie, a mask to hide her greed. Ethan's voice rang out, "That dumbass is too busy doting on his princess to notice we're screwing him over." Paul's betrayal stung sharper. He'd drafted my will, knew my deepest fears about losing Sophia. Nikki's hit piece, Ronnie's photos, Derek's audit. It was a coordinated assault, not just on my wealth, but on my identity. I'd spent decades building a name synonymous with integrity, only to have it dragged through the mud by people I'd trusted with my life. The injustice burned, a fire that threatened to consume me. I wanted to storm Ethan's office, smash Paul's desk, confront Evelyn in front of her precious socialite friends. But Sophia's tear-streaked face anchored me. This wasn't just about me, it was about her, about truth. In the chaos, Vanessa's loyalty was a lifeline. She stormed into the office behind Sophia, her eyes blazing. "Richard, we're not letting these snakes win. I've got a forensic accountant ready to trace every penny they've moved. And Tommy's already got Carla tailing Ronnie Tate. He's a lowlife with a rap sheet, easy to flip." Her voice was steel, a reminder that I wasn't alone. I looked at Sophia, her hands still trembling, but her jaw set with resolve. "Dad, I'm done with Ethan. I'm done with Mom. I want to help you fight." Her words were a spark, igniting a new wave of determination. My daughter, betrayed as deeply as I was choosing truth over lies. I stood, the weight of $60 million and 30 years of love pressing down, but my resolve was iron. I handed Vanessa the USB drives and security footage. "Get these to the accountant. I want a full report by tomorrow. And tell Carla to focus on Paul Brennan's financials. He's not as clean as he thinks." To Sophia, I said, "Sweetheart, you don't have to fight this war, but if you're in, we do it together." Her nod was fierce, a mirror of my own fire. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, Paul, Nikki, Ronnie, they thought they could bury me. But I was Richard Bennett, and I'd built this city from nothing. The Austin skyline loomed outside, a testament to my strength. They'd started this fight, but I'd end it, and they'd choke on their own lies. The Austin morning buzzed with the distant hum of construction, a sound that once grounded me but now felt like a cruel echo of my crumbling world. My office, a fortress of my $60 million empire, was now a war room, strewn with Vanessa's forensic reports, Tommy's damning USB, Sophia's tear-soaked papers, and the security footage of Evelyn's treachery. The betrayals, Ethan's forged liens, Lydia's greed, Mark's offshore accounts, Claire's fake invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, Tara's smears, Derek's political sabotage, Greg's backstabbing, Monica's corporate betrayal, Paul's legal sellout, Nikki's hit piece, and Ronnie's sleazy surveillance piled up like a house of cards built on my trust, now collapsing under their weight. My heart was a battlefield, torn between a father's grief for Sophia's pain and a businessman's rage to crush the vipers circling my legacy. Their voices clawed at me. Ethan's street-sharp taunt. "That sorry-ass old man's too busy playing hero to see us jacking his millions." Nikki's venomous jab. "Screw that washed-up loser. His name's gonna be Mud." Paul's smug whisper. "Richard's a naive bastard, thinks he's untouchable." Each word was a fresh scar. But I was done bleeding. I was Richard Bennett, and I'd built this city from nothing. They'd pay for underestimating me. I stood, pacing the office, my coffee cold and forgotten. Sophia's resolve, Vanessa's loyalty, and Tommy's grit were my anchors, but the image of my daughter's red-rimmed eyes haunted me. She'd lost her husband, her mother, her sense of family, all because of their greed for $60 million. The injustice burned, a fire that threatened to consume every memory of love I'd held dear. I wanted to protect her, to rebuild the world I'd promised her. But first, I had to dismantle the conspiracy threatening to bury us both. My phone vibrated, pulling me from the storm in my head. It was Carla, her voice taut with urgency. "Richard, I've got a bombshell. Ethan's been meeting with a crooked banker, Sheila Torres, at First Capital. She's been laundering $500,000 through fake loans tied to your name, funneling it to Derek Holt's campaign. But here's the twist. Sheila's your cousin's ex-wife, and she's been cozying up to Evelyn at the country club, pretending to be her confidant. Sheila Torres, the woman I'd helped through her divorce, paid for her kids' braces, invited to family barbecues, Another knife in my back. Another family member turned traitor. The betrayal was a chokehold, squeezing the air from my lungs as I pictured her fake smiles, her, "Richard, your family," lies. The first shock of the day was a gut punch. Carla's voice grew sharper. There's more. Sheila's been working with a hacker, some punk named Leo Cruz, to plant malware in your company's servers. They've been siphoning sensitive client data worth $10 million in contracts and selling it to Lone Star Properties. Evelyn's been signing off on the transfers, claiming their consulting fees. Leo Cruz, a name I didn't know, but the sting of yet another stranger profiting off my trust was a fresh wound. My mind reeled, picturing Evelyn's manicured hands signing away my legacy, her laughter at the country club masking a plot to gut my business. I'd built my empire on integrity, shaking hands with clients who trusted me with their dreams. Now, Sheila and Leo were turning that trust into a weapon, another layer in a scheme that kept growing uglier. The second shock hit like a sledgehammer. My phone lit up with a voicemail from Tommy's whistleblower at Lone Star Properties, a nervous intern named Riley Parker. "Mr. Bennett, I found something in the shred bin. Ethan's been drafting a fake whistleblower report, claiming you've been bribing subcontractors for years. It's got your signature forged on payments totaling $3 million, and it's addressed to the Texas Attorney General. Derek Holt's name is all over it, and there's an email from your sister-in-law, Claire, promising Riley a $50,000 bonus to keep quiet." Riley's voice trembled, a kid caught in a web she didn't understand. My stomach churned. Claire, the woman who'd baked Sophia's birthday cakes, was now bribing a 20-year-old to frame me as a criminal. The betrayal was a raw, throbbing ache, a reminder that no one was safe from their greed. I'd trusted Claire with my family's heart, and she'd sold it for a cut of the millions. The third shock was a dagger to the soul. Sophia burst through the door, her face a mask of fury and heartbreak, clutching a laptop. "Dad, I hacked Ethan's email, don't ask how. He's been meeting with my best friend Jenna Walsh behind my back. She's been feeding him my work schedules, my client meetings, even my therapy notes, to make sure I'm too busy to notice their plan. There's an email from Mom saying, 'Keep Sophia distracted. We need her out of the way for the final move. Jenna's getting $100,000 for it.'" Her voice cracked, tears spilling down her cheeks. My daughter, betrayed by her childhood friend, the girl she'd shared secrets with since middle school. The pain in her eyes mirrored my own, a shared wound that cut deeper than any financial loss. I wanted to hold her, to shield her from this nightmare, but her trembling hands and fierce glare told me she was ready to fight. The image of Jenna's betrayal, her giggles at Sophia's wedding, her hugs at girls' nights burned like acid. My family was unraveling, and I was powerless to stop it. My mind was a tempest, rage, and grief, clashing like a bar fight. I saw Evelyn's face, her fake tears at Sophia's graduation, her "I love you" whispers at our last New Year's Eve. All lies, all calculated to keep me blind, while she, Ethan, Sheila, Leo, Claire, and Jenna plotted to steal $60 million and my name. Their voices echoed. Sheila's sneer, "That idiot's too busy playing family man to notice us cleaning him out." Leo's taunt, "Screw that rich bastard, he's done." Jenna's cold email, "Richard's a clueless fool. Sophia's too soft to suspect." The injustice was a wildfire, burning through every memory of trust. I wanted to storm the country club, drag Evelyn out by her designer purse, and make her face Sophia's tears. But my daughter's pain, her resolve, anchored me. This wasn't just my war, it was ours. Vanessa's voice cut through the haze, fierce and steady as she joined us. "Richard, Sophia, we're not letting these lowlifes win. I've got the accountant pulling every transaction Sheila and Leo touched, and Riley's ready to testify about Claire's bribe." Her loyalty was a beacon, a reminder that I wasn't alone. Sophia wiped her tears, her voice steel. "Dad, I'm in. Let's burn their lies to the ground." I nodded, my heart aching but my resolve iron. "Vanessa, get Riley's statement locked down. Tell Carla to track Jenna's financials. She's not as smart as she thinks." To Sophia, I said, "We do this together, sweetheart, for the truth." Her nod was a mirror of my fire. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, Paul, Nikki, Ronnie, Sheila, Leo, Jenna, they thought they could break us. But we were the Bennetts, and we'd make them choke on their own greed. The Austin skyline gleamed outside, a testament to my strength. The war was on, and I'd make sure they regretted starting it. The Austin skyline shimmered outside my office window, a glittering reminder of the $60 million empire I'd built, now a chessboard where every move was a betrayal. Sophia's tear-streaked resolve, Vanessa's fierce loyalty, Tommy's unyielding grit, and Riley's whistleblower courage were my only anchors in a storm of deceit. Ethan's forged liens, Lydia's greed, Mark's offshore accounts, Claire's fake invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, Tara's smears, Derek's political sabotage, Greg's backstabbing, Monica's corporate betrayal, Paul's legal sellout, Nikki's hit piece, Ronnie's sleazy surveillance, Sheila's laundered loans, Leo's hacked servers, and Jenna's betrayal of Sophia's trust. My heart was a furnace, burning with grief for the family I'd lost and rage for the vipers who'd mocked me. Their voices clawed at my soul. Sheila's sneer, that dumbass Bennett's too busy playing patriarch to see us milking his millions. Jenna's cold jab, screw that old fool, he's done. Leo's taunt, Richard's a washed-up loser, we're gonna bury him. Each word was a fresh wound, but I was forging them into steel. I was Richard Bennett, the man who'd shaped Austin's horizon, and I'd make them choke on their lies. I stood at my desk, the weight of Sophia's pain, and my own betrayal pressing down like a collapsing scaffold. My daughter's world was shattering, her mother, her husband, her best friend, all conspiring to frame me as a criminal and steal $60 million. The injustice was a wildfire, searing every memory of love and trust I'd held dear. I wanted to shield Sophia, to rebuild the family I'd promised her, but first, I had to dismantle the conspiracy threatening to bury us. My phone buzzed, snapping me from the chaos. It was Carla, her voice sharp with urgency. Richard, I've got a bombshell. Ethan's been meeting with a crooked judge, Victor Salazar, in Travis County. He's been bribing Salazar with $200,000 from your accounts to fast-track a restraining order against you, claiming financial abuse. But here's the kicker. Salazar's your old neighbor, the guy you helped get elected. He's been dining at your house for years. Victor Salazar, the man who toasted my success at backyard barbecues, who'd borrowed my lawnmower and called me brother. Another knife in my back. Another trusted face turned traitor. The betrayal was a gut shot, a reminder that no corner of my life was untouched by their greed. The first shock of the day hit like a thunderclap. Carla's voice grew darker. There's more. Salazar's been working with a local cop, Officer Gina Holt, Derek's sister. She's been planting evidence in your company's warehouse. Fake documents suggesting you're running an illegal construction racket. They've got photos of your trucks at a shady site, staged to look like you're dumping hazardous materials. Evelyn's been paying Gina $50,000 to make it stick. Gina Holt, I'd coached her kids' Little League team, brought her family casseroles when her husband left. Now she was framing me as a criminal, using my own generosity against me. The pain was visceral, a raw ache that clawed at my chest. I'd built my empire on trust, on handshakes and community, only to have it weaponized by people I'd treated like family. My mind flashed to Gina's grateful hugs, her, Richard, you're a lifesaver. Lies, now twisted into a plot to destroy me. The second shock was a sledgehammer. My phone lit up with a text from Riley, the nervous intern, her words frantic. Mr. Bennett, I overheard Ethan and Nikki Vega at a coffee shop. They're planning to leak a fake video to Austin Uncovered, showing you yelling at Sophia, edited to look like you're threatening her. They paid a guy named Marcus Kane, some sleazy video editor, $20,000 to doctor it. Claire's signing off on the payment. Marcus Kane, a name I didn't know, but another lowlife profiting off my pain. The thought of them using Sophia, my daughter, as a prop in their smear campaign was a fresh wound. I pictured her face, already broken by Jenna's betrayal, now facing a fabricated lie that painted her father as a monster. The injustice burned, a fire that threatened to consume every ounce of restraint. I wanted to storm Nikki's office, smash Marcus's editing rig, and make Claire beg for forgiveness. But Sophia's pain was my priority. She didn't deserve to be collateral damage in their war. The third shock was a dagger to the heart. Sophia stormed into the office, her eyes blazing with a mix of fury and despair, clutching a voice recorder. Dad, I confronted Jenna last night. She admitted everything, how she's been spying on me for Mom and Ethan, how she's been feeding them my therapy notes to twist into evidence of your instability. But there's worse. She's been sleeping with Ethan for months, and Mom knew. There's a recording of them laughing about it, calling you a pathetic old bastard who deserves to lose everything. Her voice cracked, tears spilling as she played the tape. Jenna's giggle filled the room. Richard's such a clueless loser, thinks he's some big-shot dad. Ethan's gonna screw him over while I keep Sophia busy. Ethan's laugh followed. That dumbass is too busy crying over his daughter to see us coming. The betrayal was a chokehold, squeezing the air from my lungs. Sophia's best friend, her confidant, wasn't just a traitor. She was sleeping with her husband, mocking me while tearing my daughter's heart apart. The sight of Sophia's trembling hands, her trust shattered, was worse than any financial loss. My mind was a maelstrom, rage and grief, colliding like a Texas dust storm. I saw Evelyn's fake smiles at our last family dinner, Jenna's hugs at Sophia's birthday, Victor's toasts in my backyard, all lies, all calculated to blind me while they stole $60 million and my daughter's peace. Their voices echoed, Gina's sneer, "Screw that do, gooder, he's done." Marcus's taunt, "Richard's a washed-up fool, his empire's ours." The injustice was a blade, slicing through every memory of loyalty. I wanted to burn their world down, to confront Victor in his chambers, drag Gina's badge through the mud, expose Jenna's affair in front of her socialite friends. But Sophia's sobs anchored me. This wasn't just my fight, it was hers, and I'd be damned if I let them break her further. Vanessa's voice cut through the haze, fierce as ever. "Richard, Sophia, we're not letting these lowlifes win. I've got a contact at the DA's office who'll look at Gina's planted evidence. And Carla's tailing Marcus Kane, he's got a history of fraud, easy to crack. Her loyalty was a lifeline, pulling me from the abyss." Sophia wiped her tears, her voice steel. "Dad, I want them to pay. I'm done being their pawn." I nodded, my heart aching but my resolve iron. "Vanessa, get the DA contact moving. Tell Carla to dig into Victor Salazar's financials. He's not untouchable." To Sophia, I said, "We're in this together, sweetheart. They'll regret crossing us." Her nod was fierce, a mirror of my fire. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, Paul, Nikki, Ronnie, Sheila, Leo, Jenna, Victor, Gina, Marcus, they thought they could bury us. But we were the Bennetts, and we'd make them choke on their lies. The Austin sun blazed outside, a promise of reckoning. The war was escalating, and I'd make sure they fell hard. The Austin afternoon blazed outside my Terrytown office. The sun, a merciless spotlight on the wreckage of my $60 million empire, now a battlefield strewn with the shrapnel of betrayal. Sophia's tear-streaked fury, Vanessa's unyielding loyalty, Tommy's grit, and Riley's trembling courage were my only shields against the onslaught. Ethan's forged liens, Lydia's greed, Mark's offshore accounts, Claire's fake invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, Tara's smears, Derek's political sabotage, Greg's backstabbing, Monica's corporate betrayal, Paul's legal sellout, Nikki's hit piece, Ronnie's sleazy surveillance, Sheila's laundered loans, Leo's hacked servers, Jenna's betrayal of Sophia, Victor's judicial corruption, Gina's planted evidence, and Marcus's doctored video. My heart was a cauldron, boiling with grief for Sophia's shattered world and rage for the vipers who'd mocked me. Their voices were a relentless assault. Victor's sneer, "That pathetic old bastard's too busy playing big shot to see us robbing him blind." Gina's taunt, "Screw that do, gooder, he's toast." Marcus's laugh, "Richard's a washed-up chump, his empire's ours." Each word was a fresh wound, but I was forging them into a blade. I was Richard Bennett, the man who'd built Austin's skyline, and I'd make them bleed for their lies. I stood, my hands trembling as I gripped the edge of the desk, the weight of Sophia's pain and my own betrayal crushing me like a collapsing crane. My daughter's world was in ruins, her mother, husband, and best friend conspiring to frame me as a criminal and steal $60 million. The injustice was a wildfire, torching every memory of trust I'd clung to. I wanted to rebuild the family I'd promised Sophia, but first, I had to dismantle the hydra of deceit threatening to destroy us. My phone buzzed, cutting through the storm in my head. It was Carla, her voice a razor's edge. "Richard, I've got a bombshell. Ethan's been meeting with a shady real estate broker, Vanessa's old colleague, Kurt Randall. He's been forging your signature on deeds to transfer your South Congress retail strip worth $10 million to a shell company tied to Derek Holt. But here's the twist. Kurt's your godson, the kid you paid for college. He's been bragging to Ethan about how you're a clueless old fool who trusts him like family. Kurt Randall, the boy I'd bounced on my knee, whose graduation I'd cheered at, whose first car I'd co-signed. Another knife in my heart, another family member turned traitor. The betrayal was a gut punch, a reminder that my trust was their weapon. The first shock of the day hit like a wrecking ball. Carla's voice grew darker. "There's more. Kurt's been working with a dirty PR firm run by a woman named Lila Monroe. She's been planting stories in local blogs, claiming you've been evicting low-income tenants to flip your properties for profit. They've got fake tenant complaints, signed with your name, paid for by Evelyn with $75,000 from your accounts. Lila Monroe. I'd met her at a Chamber of Commerce event, her polished smile and firm handshake masking a vulture ready to tear my reputation apart. I'd thought she was ambitious, a rising star. Now, she was another cog in their machine, using my name to paint me as a heartless slumlord. The pain was visceral, a raw ache that clawed at my soul. I'd built my empire on fairness, on creating homes for families, only to have it twisted into a narrative of greed by people I'd welcomed into my world. The second shock was a sledgehammer. My phone lit up with an email from Riley, her words frantic. "Mr. Bennett, I found a hidden file in Lone Star's server. Ethan's been coordinating with your old mentor Frank Delaney to sabotage your Westlake condo project worth $15 million by faking environmental violations. Frank's been feeding regulators forged reports, claiming your site's contaminated, and he's getting a $100,000 cut. There's an email from him calling you a stupid old bastard who deserves to lose everything. Frank Delaney, the man who'd taught me the real estate game, who'd lent me my first loan when banks laughed me out the door. I'd named my first building after him, toasted his retirement at my lake house. Now, he was selling me out, mocking the kid he'd once called his protege. The betrayal was a chokehold, squeezing the air from my lungs. Every handshake, every lesson he'd taught me was a lie. The third shock was a dagger to the heart. Sophia stormed in, her face a mask of rage and devastation, clutching a letter. "Dad, I found this in Jenna's apartment. It's from Mom to a divorce lawyer, Diane Kessler, outlining a plan to accuse you of emotional abuse to justify taking half your estate. They've been coaching my therapist, Dr. Rachel Lee, to falsify reports, saying you've been manipulating me for years. Mom paid her $25,000, and Jenna's been recording our sessions to twist my words." Her voice broke, tears streaming as she collapsed into a chair. My daughter, betrayed by her therapist, the woman she'd trusted with her deepest fears. The sight of her shaking, her world shattered by her mother's cruelty, was worse than any financial loss. I wanted to hold her, to erase the pain, but her fierce glare told me she was ready to fight. The image of Dr. Lee's kind smiles, her "we're here to heal" platitudes, now felt like poison. Sophia's trust, her vulnerability, had been weaponized. My mind was a maelstrom, rage and grief, colliding like a bar brawl. I saw Evelyn's fake tears at our last Christmas, Kurt's grins at family dinners, Frank's proud claps at my first deal, Rachel's soothing voice in Sophia's therapy, all lies, all calculated to blind me while they stole $60 million and my daughter's peace. Their voices echoed. Kurt's sneer. "That idiot's too busy playing Godfather to see us screwing him." Lila's taunt. "Screw that loser. His name's trash." Frank's laugh. "Richard's a naive fool. Don't for." The injustice was a blade, slicing through every memory of loyalty. I wanted to storm Kurt's office, burn Lila's PR firm to the ground, confront Frank in his cushy retirement condo. But Sophia's tears anchored me. This was our fight, and I'd be damned if I let them break her further. Vanessa's voice cut through the haze, fierce as ever. "Richard, Sophia, we're not letting these scumbags win. I've got a contact at the State Environmental Board who'll debunk Frank's fake reports. And Carla's digging into Diane Kessler's financials. She's got a history of shady deals." Her loyalty was a lifeline, pulling me from the abyss. Sophia wiped her tears, her voice steel. "Dad, I'm done being their victim. Let's end this." I nodded, my heart aching but my resolve iron. "Vanessa, get the Environmental Board moving. Tell Carla to focus on Rachel Lee's payments. Her license won't survive this." To Sophia, I said, "We're in this together, sweetheart. They'll pay." Her nod was a mirror of my fire. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, Paul, Nikki, Ronnie, Sheila, Leo, Jenna, Victor, Gina, Marcus, Kurt, Lila, Frank, Rachel, Diane. They thought they could bury us. But we were the Bennetts, and we'd make them choke on their lies. The Austin sun burned outside, a promise of vengeance. The war was raging, and I'd make sure they fell hard. The Austin dusk settled over my Terrytown office like a shroud. The skyline's glow, a bitter reminder of the $60 million empire I'd built. Now a war zone, scarred by betrayal. Sophia's fierce resolve, Vanessa's unwavering loyalty, Tommy's raw grit, and Riley's trembling bravery were my only fortifications against the onslaught. Ethan's forged liens, Lydia's greed, Mark's offshore accounts, Claire's fake invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, Tara's smears, Derek's political sabotage, Greg's backstabbing, Monica's corporate betrayal, Paul's legal sellout, Nikki's hit piece, Ronnie's sleazy surveillance, Sheila's laundered loans, Leo's hacked servers, Jenna's betrayal of Sophia, Victor's judicial corruption, Gina's planted evidence, Marcus's doctored video, Kurt's forged deeds, Lila's PR lies, Frank's environmental sabotage, and Rachel's falsified therapy reports. My heart was a furnace, searing with grief for Sophia's shattered trust and rage for the vipers who'd mocked me. Their voices were a relentless assault. Kurt's sneer, that washed-up bastard's too busy playing Godfather to see us robbing him blind. Lila's taunt, screw that old fool, his name's trash. Rachel's cold jab, Richard's a pathetic loser, done for. Each word was a fresh wound, but I was forging them into a weapon. I was Richard Bennett, the man who'd shaped Austin's horizon, and I'd make them choke on their lies. I leaned against the desk, my hands trembling with the weight of Sophia's pain and my own betrayal, a $60 million empire teetering on the edge of collapse. My daughter's world was in ruins, her mother, husband, best friend, and therapist conspiring to frame me as a monster and steal everything I'd built. The injustice was a wildfire, torching every memory of love and loyalty I'd held sacred. I wanted to rebuild the family I'd promised Sophia, but first, I had to dismantle the hydra of deceit, threatening to bury us. My phone buzzed, slicing through the chaos. It was Carla, her voice a blade of urgency. Richard, I've got a bombshell. Ethan's been meeting with a crooked CPA, your old accountant buddy, Travis Boone. He's been cooking your books to show a fake loss of $8 million on your Barton Springs project, making it look like you're bankrupt to force a fire sale. But here's the twist. Travis is Sophia's godfather, the guy you trusted with her college fund. He's been bragging to Ethan about how you're a clueless old bastard who'll never suspect. Travis Boone, the man who'd held Sophia at her christening, who'd taught her to ride a bike. Another knife in my heart, another trusted face turned traitor. The betrayal was a gut punch, a reminder that my trust was their playground. The first shock of the day hit like a freight train. Carla's voice grew darker. There's more. Travis has been working with a shady auditor, Natalie Price, who's been planting fake IRS complaints to trigger a federal investigation. They've got forged receipts showing you funneled $5 million into offshore accounts, paid for by Evelyn through a hidden trust. Natalie's your niece's best friend, been to your 4th of July barbecues. Natalie Price, the girl who'd called me Uncle Richard, who'd thanked me for funding her MBA. Now she was framing me as a tax cheat, using my generosity as a weapon. The pain was visceral, a raw ache that clawed at my soul. I'd built my empire on integrity, on creating opportunities for those I loved, only to have it twisted into a narrative of crime by people I'd welcomed into my life. My mind flashed to Natalie's shy smiles, her "you're the best" hugs, now poisoned by her betrayal. The second shock was a sledgehammer. My phone lit up with a text from Riley, her words frantic. Mr. Bennett, I found a secret chat log on Lone Star's server. Ethan's been coordinating with your old business partner, Carl Weaver, to sabotage your Zilker Park development worth $12 million by faking community protests. Carl's been paying activists $50,000 to picket your sites, claiming you're gentrifying Austin. There's a message from him calling you a stupid old prick who deserves to lose it all. Carl Weaver, the man who'd co-signed my first loan, who'd stood by me through the 2008 crash. I'd named my daughter's scholarship fund after him, shared cigars on my yacht. Now, he was orchestrating fake protests to tank my projects, mocking the partner he'd once called family. The betrayal was a chokehold, squeezing the air from my lungs. Every handshake, every shared dream was a lie. The third shock was a dagger to the heart. Sophia burst in, her face a storm of rage and devastation, clutching a USB drive. Dad, I broke into Mom's safe. She's been writing a fake diary, claiming you've been emotionally abusive for years, to use in court. She's been coaching my old high school counselor, Miss Linda Hayes, to back it up with false testimony for $30,000. There's an email from Linda saying you're a pathetic old fool who's too busy playing dad to notice. Her voice broke, tears streaming as she collapsed into a chair. My daughter, betrayed by the counselor who'd guided her through teenage heartbreak. The sight of her shaking, her trust shattered by yet another figure from her past, was worse than any financial loss. I wanted to hold her, to erase her pain, but her fierce glare told me she was ready to fight. The image of Linda's encouraging nods, her "Sophia's so lucky to have you" lies, now felt like venom. My daughter's vulnerability, her memories, had been weaponized. My mind was a tempest, rage, and grief colliding like a street brawl. I saw Evelyn's fake tears at Sophia's Sweet 16, Travis's proud claps at her college graduation, Carl's toasts at my milestones, Linda's warm smiles, all lies, all calculated to blind me while they stole $60 million and my daughter's peace. Their voices echoed. Natalie's sneer, "Screw that dude, gooder he's done." Carl's taunt, "Richard's a washed-up loser, we're taking it all." Linda's cold jab, "That idiot's too busy playing hero to see us coming." The injustice was a blade, slicing through every memory of loyalty. I wanted to storm Travis's office, burn Carl's fake protest to the ground, confront Linda in front of her students. But Sophia's tears anchored me. This was our fight, and I'd be damned if I let them break her further. Vanessa's voice cut through the haze, fierce as ever. "Richard, Sophia, we're not letting these snakes win. I've got a contact at the IRS who'll debunk Natalie's fake complaints. And Carla's tailing Linda Hayes. She's got a history of ethical violations. Her loyalty was a lifeline, pulling me from the abyss." Sophia wiped her tears, her voice steel. "Dad, I'm done being their pawn. Let's end them." I nodded, my heart aching but my resolve iron. "Vanessa, get the IRS contact moving. Tell Carla to focus on Carl Weaver's payments. His lies won't hold." To Sophia, I said, "We're in this together, sweetheart. They'll pay." Her nod was a mirror of my fire. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, Paul, Nikki, Ronnie, Sheila, Leo, Jenna, Victor, Gina, Marcus, Kurt, Lila, Frank, Rachel, Diane, Travis, Natalie, Carl, Linda. They thought they could bury us. But we were the Bennetts, and we'd make them choke on their lies. The Austin dusk burned outside, a promise of vengeance. The war was peaking, and I'd make sure they fell hard. The Austin night draped my Terrytown office in shadows, the city's skyline, a taunting reminder of the $60 million empire I'd built, now a battlefield littered with the wreckage of betrayal. Sophia's steely resolve, Vanessa's fierce loyalty, Tommy's unyielding grit, and Riley's fragile bravery were my only bastions against the onslaught. Ethan's forged liens, Lydia's greed, Mark's offshore accounts, Claire's fake invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, Tara's smears, Derek's political sabotage, Greg's backstabbing, Monica's corporate betrayal, Paul's legal sellout, Nikki's hit piece, Ronnie's sleazy surveillance, Sheila's laundered loans, Leo's hacked servers, Jenna's betrayal of Sophia, Victor's judicial corruption, Gina's planted evidence, Marcus's doctored video, Kurt's forged deeds, Lila's PR lies, Frank's environmental sabotage, Rachel's falsified therapy reports, Travis's cookbooks, Natalie's fake IRS complaints, Carl's staged protests, and Linda's fabricated testimony. My heart was a crucible, molten with grief for Sophia's shattered trust and rage for the vipers who'd mocked me. Their voices were a relentless barrage. Travis's sneer, "That washed. Up bastards too busy playing daddy to see us jacking his millions." Natalie's taunt, "Screw that old fool, he's done." Linda's cold jab, "Richard's a pathetic loser, blind as a bat." Each word was a fresh wound, but I was forging them into a guillotine. I was Richard Bennett, the man who'd carved Austin's horizon from nothing, and I'd make them bleed for their lies. I stood, my hands gripping the desk's edge, the weight of Sophia's pain and my own betrayal crushing me like a collapsing high-rise. My daughter's world was in tatters, her mother, husband, best friend, therapist, and now her godfather, counselor, and family friends conspiring to frame me as a criminal and steal $60 million. The injustice was a wildfire, incinerating every memory of loyalty I'd cherished. I wanted to rebuild the family I'd promised Sophia, but first, I had to dismantle the hydra of deceit threatening to bury us. My phone buzzed, slicing through the chaos. It was Carla, her voice a razor's edge. "Richard, I've got a bombshell. Ethan's been meeting with a shady journalist, Max Serrano, from the Austin American-Statesman. He's been feeding Max a fake expose claiming you've been running a Ponzi scheme with your real estate deals, backed by forged investor contracts worth $7 million. But here's the kicker. Max is your old high school buddy, the guy you bailed out when his paper went under. He's been calling you a clueless old prick who deserves to lose everything. Max Serrano, the man who'd crashed my wedding, who'd cried on my shoulder when his wife left. Another knife in my heart, another trusted face turned traitor. The betrayal was a gut shot, a reminder that my past was a minefield. The first shock of the day hit like a wrecking ball. Carla's voice darkened. There's more. Max has been working with a crooked appraiser, Elena Vasquez, to undervalue your Hyde Park portfolio worth $10 million to force a cheap sale to Derek Holt's cronies. Elena's been dining with Evelyn at the country club, posing as her financial advisor, and she's been paid $50,000 to rig the appraisals. She's your cousin's wife, Richard, been to your Thanksgiving dinners. Elena Vasquez, the woman who'd called me family, who danced with Sofia at her quinceañera. Now, she was rigging my empire's value, using my trust as a weapon. The pain was visceral, a raw ache that clawed at my soul. I'd built my legacy on fairness, on creating wealth for my community, only to have it twisted into a fire sale by people I'd welcomed into my home. My mind flashed to Elena's warm hugs, her "Richard, you're a blessing" lies, now poisoned by her betrayal. The second shock was a sledgehammer. My phone lit up with a frantic text from Riley. "Mr. Bennett, I found a hidden email on Lone Star's server. Ethan's been coordinating with your old pastor, Reverend Tom Ellis, to spread rumors at church that you've been laundering money through charity donations. He's got fake receipts showing you diverted $2 million from the kids' hospital fund, and he's been paid $25,000 by Claire to preach it from the pulpit. He called you a stupid old bastard who's going to hell. Reverend Tom Ellis, the man who'd baptized Sophia, who'd counseled me through my father's death. I'd funded his church's new wing, sat in his pews every Sunday. Now he was slandering me, turning my faith into a weapon. The betrayal was a chokehold, squeezing the air from my lungs. Every prayer, every sermon was a lie. The third shock was a dagger to the heart. Sophia stormed in, her face a storm of rage and devastation, clutching a burner phone. "Dad, I found this in Ethan's gym bag. He's been texting my college roommate, Sarah Nguyen, to leak fake medical records claiming you've got a mental illness to justify their abuse claims. Mom paid her $30,000 to forge them, and there's a message from Sarah calling you a pathetic old fool who deserves to be locked up." Her voice broke, tears streaming as she collapsed into a chair. My daughter, betrayed by the friend who'd shared her dorm room, who'd laughed with her at spring break. The sight of her shaking, her trust shattered by yet another figure from her past, was worse than any financial loss. I wanted to hold her, to erase her pain, but her fierce glare told me she was ready to fight. The image of Sarah's late-night study sessions with Sophia, her "you're like family" promises, now felt like venom. My daughter's memories, her bonds, had been weaponized. My mind was a maelstrom, rage and grief colliding like a street fight. I saw Evelyn's fake tears at Sophia's baptism, Max's toasts at my high school reunion, Tom's sermons about trust, Sarah's hugs at graduation, all lies, all calculated to blind me while they stole $60 million and my daughter's peace. Their voices echoed. Elena's sneer. "Screw that do, gooder he's done." Tom's taunt. "Richard's a washed-up loser going to hell." Sarah's cold jab. "That idiot's too busy playing dad to see us coming." The injustice was a blade, slicing through every memory of faith and friendship. I wanted to storm Max's newsroom, burn Elena's appraisals, confront Tom in his church. But Sophia's tears anchored me. This was our fight, and I'd be damned if I let them break her further. Vanessa's voice cut through the haze, fierce as ever. "Richard, Sophia, we're not letting these snakes win. I've got a contact at the state ethics board who'll nail Tom Ellis for fraud. And Carla's digging into Sarah Wynn's payments. She's not as clean as she thinks." Her loyalty was a lifeline, pulling me from the abyss. Sophia wiped her tears, her voice steel. "Dad, I'm done being their victim. Let's bury them." I nodded, my heart aching but my resolve iron. "Vanessa, get the ethics board moving. Tell Carla to focus on Max Serrano's financials. He's got dirt." To Sophia, I said, "We're in this together, sweetheart. They'll pay." Her nod was a mirror of my fire. Evelyn, Ethan, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, Paul, Nikki, Ronnie, Sheila, Leo, Jenna, Victor, Gina, Marcus, Kurt, Lila, Frank, Rachel, Diane, Travis, Natalie, Carl, Linda, Max, Elena, Tom, Sarah. They thought they could bury us. But we were the Bennetts, and we'd make them choke on their lies. The Austin night burned outside, a promise of retribution. The war was at its peak, and I'd make sure they fell hard. The Austin dawn broke over my Terrytown office, its golden rays a stark contrast to the dark storm of betrayal that had ravaged my $60 million empire. Sophia's fierce resolve, Vanessa's unyielding loyalty, Tommy's raw grit, and Riley's trembling courage were my only fortifications against the relentless onslaught: Ethan's forged liens, Lydia's greed, Mark's offshore accounts, Claire's fake invoices, Vince's thuggish cut, Tara's smears, Derek's political sabotage, Greg's backstabbing, Monica's corporate betrayal, Paul's legal sellout, Nikki's hit piece, Ronnie's sleazy surveillance, Sheila's laundered loans, Leo's hacked servers, Jenna's betrayal of Sophia, Victor's judicial corruption, Gina's planted evidence, Marcus's doctored video, Kurt's forged deeds, Lila's PR lies, Frank's environmental sabotage, Rachel's falsified therapy reports, Travis's cooked books, Natalie's fake IRS complaints, Carl's staged protests, Linda's fabricated testimony, Max's fake expose, Elena's rigged appraisals, Tom's church rumors, and Sarah's forged medical records. My heart was a crucible, molten with grief for Sophia's shattered world and rage for the vipers who'd mocked me. Their voices were a brutal assault. Max's sneer, that washed-up bastard's too busy playing hero to see us jacking his millions. Elena's taunt, screw that old fool, he's toast. Sarah's cold jab, Richard's a pathetic loser, done for. Each word was a fresh wound, but I was forging them into a spear. I was Richard Bennett, the man who'd built Austin's skyline, and I'd make them choke on their lies. I stood, my hands trembling with the weight of Sophia's pain and my own betrayal. The $60 million empire I'd built, now a battlefield of trust, turned to ash. My daughter's world was rubble. Her mother, husband, best friend, therapist, godfather, counselor, and countless others conspiring to frame me as a monster and steal everything. The injustice was a wildfire, incinerating every memory of love I'd held sacred. I wanted to rebuild the family I'd promised Sophia, but first, I had to dismantle the hydra of deceit threatening to bury us. My phone buzzed, slicing through the chaos. It was Carla, her voice a blade of urgency. Richard, I've got a final bombshell. Ethan's been meeting with a crooked FBI agent, Agent Carla Ruiz, no relation to Tommy. She's been planting fake evidence in your company's servers, claiming you're tied to a cartel to justify a federal raid. Evelyn paid her $100,000, and she's been calling you a clueless old prick who deserves to rot in jail. But here's the twist. Carla's your old neighbor's sister, been to your Labor Day barbecues. Agent Carla Ruiz, the woman who'd shared my wife's margaritas, laughed at my bad dad jokes. Another knife in my heart, another trusted face turned traitor. The betrayal was a gut shot, a reminder that my life was a minefield of lies. The first shock of the day hit like a wrecking ball. Carla's voice darkened. There's more. Agent Ruiz has been working with a shady lobbyist, Victor Crane, to push a state investigation into your company for labor violations. They've got fake worker complaints, paid for by Claire with $75,000, claiming you've been exploiting undocumented workers. Victor's your old golf buddy, Richard, been to your lake house. Victor Crane, the man who'd caddied with me, who'd toasted my first $1 million deal. Now, he was framing me as a slaver, using my trust to gut my legacy. The pain was visceral, a raw ache that clawed at my soul. I'd built my empire on fairness, on giving jobs to those who needed them, only to have it twisted into a narrative of cruelty by people I'd called friends. My mind flashed to Victor's hearty laughs, his, Richard, you're a legend, lies, now poisoned by his betrayal. The second shock was a sledgehammer. My phone lit up with a text from Riley. Mr. Bennett, I found a hidden audio file on Lone Star's server. Ethan's been coordinating with your old contractor, Mike Delgado, to sabotage your East Riverside project worth $8 million by planting defective materials to trigger a lawsuit. Mike's been paid $50,000 by Lydia, and he called you a stupid old bastard who deserves to lose it all. Mike Delgado, the man who'd built my first strip mall, who'd shared beers at my Super Bowl parties. Now he was sabotaging my projects, mocking the partner he'd once called brother. The betrayal was a chokehold, squeezing the air from my lungs. Every nail he'd hammered, every toast he'd raised, was a lie. The third shock was a dagger to the heart. Sophia burst in, her face a storm of rage and devastation, clutching a laptop. Dad, I hacked Mom's cloud drive. She's been working with my old professor, Dr. Emily Carter, to forge academic papers claiming you've been funding extremist groups to destabilize Austin's economy. Emily's been paid $25,000 by Jenna, and there's an email calling you a pathetic old fool who's too busy playing dad to notice. Her voice broke, tears streaming as she collapsed into a chair. My daughter, betrayed by the professor who'd mentored her thesis, who'd praised her at graduation. The sight of her shaking, her trust shattered by yet another figure from her past, was worse than any financial loss. I wanted to hold her, to erase her pain, but her fierce glare told me she was ready to fight. The image of Emily's encouraging nods, her "Sophia's your legacy" lies, now felt like venom. My daughter's dreams, her mentors, had been weaponized. My mind was a maelstrom, rage and grief colliding like a bar brawl. I saw Evelyn's fake tears at Sophia's graduation, Victor's claps at my golf wins, Mike's toasts at my parties, Emily's smiles at academic dinners, all lies, all calculated to blind me while they stole $60 million and my daughter's peace. Their voices echoed. Victor's sneer, "Screw that dude, gooder, he's done." Mike's taunt, "Richard's a washed-up loser, we're taking it all." Emily's cold jab, "That idiot's too busy playing hero to see us coming." The injustice was a blade, slicing through every memory of friendship. I wanted to storm Victor's office, burn Mike's fake materials, confront Emily in her lecture hall. But Sophia's tears anchored me. This was our fight, and I'd be damned if I let them break her further. Unlike their plan to destroy me in court, I chose a different path, one rooted in knowledge and truth. With Vanessa's help, we presented the evidence recordings, emails, forged documents to a federal judge, untainted by Victor's corruption. The case unraveled in a single hearing, their lies exposed like roaches in daylight. Evelyn faced perjury charges, her socialite status shattered as Austin's elite shunned her. Ethan's law license was revoked, his reputation buried under fraud allegations. The others, Lydia, Mark, Claire, Vince, Tara, Derek, Greg, Monica, Paul, Nikki, Ronnie, Sheila, Leo, Jenna, Victor, Gina, Marcus, Kurt, Lila, Frank, Rachel, Diane, Travis, Natalie, Carl, Linda, Max, Elena, Tom, Sarah, Agent Ruiz, Victor Crane, Mike. Emily faced lawsuits, disbarments, and exile. Their greed, their undoing. Sophia rebuilt her life, opening a therapy practice to help families heal from betrayal, her knowledge a beacon of hope. I rebuilt my empire, stronger, with knowledge as my shield, surrounded by true allies like Vanessa, Tommy, and Riley. The lesson here is profound. Knowledge of truth is power, but trust must be earned. Betrayal teaches us the hard lesson of discernment, educating us to see beyond facades. The knowledge of loyalty's value, the lesson of resilience, and the education of self-worth are gifts forged in pain. I learned the hard lesson of guarding my heart, and Sophia gained the knowledge to rebuild hers. This education in life's harsh realities is universal, a lesson for us all. If this story of betrayal and redemption moved you, hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Revenge X, for more gripping tales every day. Like and share to spread the knowledge, and drop a comment. How does this story resonate with your life? What lessons of betrayal or strength have you learned? Your thoughts are an education from the heart. Wishing you all strength, health, and joy every day. Stay strong, stay healthy, live joyfully. Goodbye, and see you in the next video. Stay healthy, and we'll meet again soon.